Joining us as well in our conversation tonight is Evan Coyne Maloney. He's the editor of BrainTerminal.com.
I think it's interesting that of all the things you could have brought up as a strength of Hillary, that ethics was one of them. I mean, you know, there was no end to the scandals in the Clinton White House, and she seemed to have her hand in every one of those scandals, from the Travelgate firings to the FBI files. To
Exonerated.
They didn't get John Gotti for a long time either, but they did eventually. If you want to give Clinton credit for something, I'll give him credit for NAFTA, a Republican bill. I'll give him credit for welfare reform, a Republican bill. For the first time in 50 years, the Republicans, thanks to Bill Clinton, managed to get the House and the Senate. For the first time in a long time, a majority of state houses ended up in the hands of Republicans. Clinton was an unmitigated disaster for the Democratic Party.
We have to be fair here. It is Republicans and Democrats who are both abusing this process.
Absolutely.
So who do you assign more blame to?
Well, when it comes to earmarks, there are two parties in Washington, the party in power and the party out of power. The Republicans are complaining a lot about it now because they can fight it and they can make us stink because they know it's popular to get rid of earmarks. But they had from 94, they had from 1994 to 2006. If they wanted to deal with earmarks, they could have done it then, and they didn't do it. And really, it's a problem with the structure of government. There's no incentive not to have earmarks if the American people can't find out about who asked for them. Nobody seems to be standing up and saying, what are the real limits to government? It seems like we're in an environment now where government is unlimited and no one's going to stand up and say enough. Government doesn't have the right to do this to our lives, to dictate what we're going to eat, whether we're going to smoke, how much we're going to exercise. Jobs are not created by the president. Jobs are not created by the government. Jobs are created by entrepreneurs who go out and take risks with capital. What I'm saying is that McCain-Feingold is a bad law, and that what it does is it ends up giving more influence to people like Michael Moore, who have access to the distribution channels of Hollywood.
Evan Maloney, welcome, Evan. Nice to see you on the show.
Thank you very much.
First of all, they don't have any obligation to allow you on campus. They don't have any. It's a private university.
They're a private university, but they're also a university that right now is trying to ask the government of New York to kick people out of their homes in Harlem. So I feel as though the voters and taxpayers of New York have a right to know what kind of campus is going to be expanding and booting people out of their homes. Look, when you give administrators the power to determine subjectively what is and is not offensive, they're going to tend to find things offensive that they don't agree with. A lot of times, if someone claims that they're offended by speech, that in and of itself is enough to charge someone with harassment.
How can institutions justify this kind of behavior?
Well, you know, it seems to happen whenever a community of people begins to think so much alike. They can't take it when other voices come in and start challenging the dominant thinking. When I was in college, I was actually the editor of a campus political paper, and I noticed that a lot of times entire stacks of the paper would get picked up and thrown away. I would walk by dumpsters and trash bins and see unmolested stacks sitting in there. And I thought that was a bit odd because the notion of tolerance and diversity were drilled into my head from the first day of orientation on. There was absolutely no tolerance for diversity of thought. Jim Gilchrist was just disinvited about a week before Ahmadinejad came. I don't know if you know that.
Maybe they didn't want another incident where there would be some
well, so then the heckler's veto wins. If Jim Gilchrist isn't being invited back because people attacked him on stage, and if attacking people on stage won't actually get you a punishment, that sends a message. The students are going to know if there's someone who comes who's unpopular, maybe it'll be you next time. Maybe that's what'll happen. The students know all we need to do to prevent someone from speaking here is rush the stage, physically assault them, and the university's not going to do anything about it.
The documentary is Indoctrinate U. I can't recommend it highly enough. Indoctrinate U. Evan, we thank you for being here.
Sean's going to go to Columbia. I'm waiting for my invitation to Bob Jones University and to Liberty U. So
you don't ever leave your apartment. What are you talking about?
Well, there's a good reason for that. Anyway, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks a lot.